Captain Jiho Kim stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise and stared at the massive station ahead. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The station floated in space near a spinning neutron star, and its lights glowed like a small city. Jiho felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment humanity had waited for. First contact with aliens. A chance to join the galactic community. Ambassador Hana Park stood beside him. She wore her best diplomatic uniform and held a datapad with Earth's entire history loaded on it. She had spent 5 years preparing for this meeting. Behind her stood Admiral Taeyang Choi, the head of Earth's military forces. He looked calm, but his jaw was tight. Dr. Sumin Lee, the ship's science officer, checked her instruments nervously. "We're being scanned," Sumin said quietly. "Multiple frequencies. They're looking at everything." "Let them look," Hana said with confidence. "We have nothing to hide." The station's docking bay opened like a giant mouth. The Horizon's Promise glided inside smoothly. Through the windows, Jiho could see dozens of alien ships. Some looked like crystals. Others were organic, like living creatures. Some were just spheres of metal. Each one represented a different species, a different world. When they docked, a delegation of aliens waited for them. The leader was tall and reptilian, with green scales and golden eyes that blinked sideways. This was Counselor Vex Thara, the head of the Galactic Council. Behind him stood representatives from 46 other species. Some had fur. Some had tentacles. Some glowed with their own light. But all of them watched the humans with careful eyes. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Vex Thara said. His voice came through a translator device. "We are the Galactic Council. We have governed this galaxy for 10,000 of your years. You have been invited here for the assessment." Hana stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "We are honored. Earth sends its gratitude for this opportunity. We wish to learn from you and join your great civilization." Vex's Thara's eyes narrowed slightly. "That depends on what we learn about you." The assessment took 3 days. The council asked thousands of questions. They wanted to know everything about humanity, how they organized their societies, how they treated each other, what they believed in, what they feared. Hana answered every question honestly. She showed them Earth's art, music, and literature. She explained how humans had overcome their differences to unite under one government. But then the council started asking about history. They wanted to see Earth's past. Hana hesitated but agreed. She showed them everything. The wars, the weapons, the conflicts that had nearly destroyed the planet. She explained how humans had learned from their mistakes, how they had chosen peace over destruction. The council members watched in silence. Some whispered to each other. Others made notes on strange devices. When the historical presentation ended, Vex Thara stood up slowly. "We must deliberate," he said. "You will wait here." 6 hours passed. Jiho paced the waiting room. Taeyang sat perfectly still, his military training keeping him composed. Sumin analyzed data from her scanners, trying to predict what would happen. Hana reviewed her presentation over and over, wondering if she had made a mistake. Finally, they were called back to the council chamber. The aliens sat in a great circle, with humanity's delegation in the center. Vex Thara stood at the highest point, looking down at them. "We have reviewed your species thoroughly," he began. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. "We have examined your biology, your technology, your culture, and your history. The council has reached a decision." Hana held her breath. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's future. "You are denied," Vex Thara said flatly. "The Galactic Council declares humanity a Category 5 hazardous species. You are hereby banished from galactic society." The words hit like a physical blow. Jiho felt the air leave his lungs. Hana's face went pale. Even Taeyang showed surprise, his eyes widening. "Wait," Hana said, stepping forward. "Please explain. What did we do wrong?" Another counselor spoke. "A being made of floating crystals. Your species is too violent. Your history is full of war and destruction. You nearly destroyed your own planet multiple times. But we stopped, Hana argued, her voice rising. We learned. We changed. Isn't that what matters? Your technological advancement is also concerning, said a third counselor, covered in blue fur. You achieved faster than light travel in only 200 years. Most species take 2,000 years or more. This rapid growth is dangerous. Vexthera raised his hand for silence. Your species shows 3 traits we cannot allow in galactic society. First, extreme aggression and capacity for violence. Second, dangerous adaptability that allows rapid technological growth. Third, an expansion instinct that drives you to spread beyond your world. These traits make you a threat. A threat? Jiho finally spoke up, anger in his voice. We came here in peace. We asked to join you, not to conquer you. That may be true now, Vexthera replied coldly. But give your species 1,000 years. Where will you be then? What will you become? The Council has seen species like yours before. They always become problems. We will not make that mistake again. The vote was 46-1, another counselor added. The decision is final. Hana looked desperate. Please reconsider. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. We can show you that humanity. You have 30 days, Vexthera interrupted. Remove all human presence from beyond your solar system. We will construct a barrier around your sun. You will remain inside. Any attempt to leave will be considered an act of war. You're imprisoning us, Taeyang said, his voice hard. For crimes we haven't committed? We are protecting the galaxy, Vexthera said simply. This meeting is over. Guards appeared, not threatening but making it clear the humans should leave. As they walked back to their ship, Hana had tears in her eyes. Suman looked stunned. Jiho felt rage building inside him. The Horizon's promise left the station in silence. Behind them, they could see massive ships moving into position around the station. Within hours, reports came in from human colonies in other systems. Strange energy fields were appearing at the edge of the solar system. The barrier was being built. By the time they reached Earth, it was complete. A wall of quantum energy surrounded the entire solar system. They were trapped, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Alone, billions of people watched as Hana delivered the news. She stood before the cameras, her face tired and sad. She explained everything. The council, the assessment, the judgment, the barrier. When she finished, riots broke out in some cities. Others held vigils. Everyone felt the same thing. Shock, anger, betrayal. That night, Admiral Taeyang Choi called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. Presidents, generals, scientists, and advisors gathered in a secure bunker. They all looked to Taeyang for answers. The old admiral stood slowly. He looked at each person in the room. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but filled with steel. They judged us for our violence and our ability to adapt. They fear what we might become. He paused, letting his words sink in. They have trapped us in our own system like animals in a cage. They believe this will protect them. His eyes grew hard. They are wrong. If they wanted us contained, they have just created their worst nightmare. We will use this time. We will grow stronger. And one day, they will learn what humans become when you try to cage them. The room fell silent. Everyone understood. The judgment had been passed. But humanity's response was just beginning. 50 years had passed since the barrier went up. Director Yuna Shin stood in her office deep beneath the surface of Mars and looked at the progress reports. The numbers were incredible. In 5 decades, humanity had transformed completely. The solar system was now home to 200 billion people. Every planet had colonies. Every moon had cities. Asteroids were hollowed out and turned into habitats. Massive space stations orbited every world. Venus had been terraformed using new technology. Mars was green with forests and oceans. Even Mercury had underground cities that housed millions. But the most important changes were hidden. Una led the Prometheus Initiative, a secret program that only a few people knew about. Its mission was simple: find a way through the barrier. Prepare humanity for freedom. In a laboratory on Europa, Dr. Minho Kang studied the quantum barrier for the 1,000th time. He was young, only 30 years old, but already considered the best physicist in the solar system. For 5 years he had analyzed every frequency, every energy pattern in the wall that trapped them. "It's not perfect," he said to his assistant. "Nothing is perfect. There has to be a weakness." He ran another simulation. The computer showed him how the barrier worked. It was made of quantum energy that pushed back against anything trying to leave. Ships, signals, even light beyond a certain frequency. Nothing got through. But then Minho noticed something. A flicker. A tiny variation in the energy pattern. It happened once every 17 hours. For just 3 seconds, the barrier's frequency shifted slightly. "That's it," he whispered. "That's the way out." He spent 6 more months working. Finally, he created a device that could match the barrier's frequency during those 3 seconds. When activated, it would create a small tear in the wall. A ship could slip through. Minho sent his findings to Director Una. She read the report 3 times to make sure she understood. Then she smiled. It was the first real hope they had found. On Earth, General Dohan Park commanded the largest military force ever created. He was Hana's grandson, named after his grandmother, who had died 20 years ago. Unlike her, he was not interested in diplomacy. The Council had taught him that strength was the only language the galaxy understood. Every human citizen trained for combat. Children started at age 10. By 18, everyone could pilot a ship, fire weapons, and work as part of a military unit. It was not optional. Survival demanded it. "They think we're contained," Dohan told his officers. "They think the barrier makes us weak. They're wrong. The barrier has made us focus, made us united. When we break free, they'll face something they've never seen before." The military had grown beyond anything the old Earth could have imagined. Humanity had built 50,000 warships. Each one was designed for one purpose: combat. They were fast, deadly, and unlike anything the Galactic Council used. Engineer Soha Bay had designed most of them. She worked in orbital shipyards above Saturn, where the largest vessels were constructed. Her designs were revolutionary. They used quantum drives that made ships faster than anything else in known space. They had weapons that could tear through shields like paper. They had AI systems that predicted enemy movements before they happened. The Council stopped improving, Soha explained to her team. They've been the dominant power for so long that they became lazy. Their ships are 10,000 years old in design. Ours are brand new, built with one goal: superiority. The ships looked different too. Council vessels were bulky and slow. Human ships were sleek and fast. They moved like predators. Every line, every curve was designed for maximum efficiency. When they flew in formation, they looked like sharks hunting in a pack. Director Una brought together the key leaders. Minho, Dohan, and Soha sat around a table in the secret command center. Around them, holographic displays showed the entire solar system and the barrier surrounding it. "Minho has found the way out," Una said. "We can create tiers in the barrier. Small at first, but enough to send probes through." "How long until we can send ships?" Dohan asked. 6 months to build the proper equipment. Then we can start testing." "Do it," Dohan ordered. "But quietly. We can't let the Council know we're working on this." 6 months later, the first probe slipped through a tier in the barrier. It was small, barely the size of a car, but it was outside. Free. It flew toward the nearest Council world and began gathering information. Over the next year, humanity sent hundreds of probes through the barrier. Each one collected data and sent it back before being discovered. The information they gathered changed everything. The Galactic Council had not advanced at all. Their technology was the same as it had been 50 years ago. They had built no new ships, developed no new weapons. They believed the barrier was absolute. They believed humanity was contained forever. They had moved on and forgotten about the dangerous species locked away in the Sol system. They're complacent, Minho reported to the leadership. They see the barrier as perfect. They don't even monitor it anymore. Dohan laughed. It was a cold sound. They've grown comfortable. That's their mistake. The bigger problem is their military, Soha added. They still have massive fleets. Thousands of ships across hundreds of worlds. Even with our advantages, we'll be outnumbered. Numbers aren't everything, Dohan replied. We have something they don't. Motivation. Discipline. Unity. They're spread across the galaxy. Comfortable and slow. We're concentrated, hungry, and ready. Yuna studied the data carefully. She was old now, in her 70s, but her mind was still sharp. We need to time this perfectly. We can't just break out. We need to make a statement, show them what we've become. What do you suggest? Dohan asked. We wait until we can open multiple tiers at once. Then we send through 1,000 ships simultaneously, all at different points. By the time they realize what's happening, we'll already be in position. That will take another year to prepare, Minho said. Then we have a year, Yuna replied. Use it well. The solar system became a hive of activity. More ships were built. Soldiers trained harder. Scientists perfected the barrier-breaking technology. Every human knew something big was coming. They didn't know the details, but they could feel the tension building. Children asked their parents when they would be free. Parents promised it would be soon. Teachers told students to train harder, study more, prepare for the day when humanity would rejoin the galaxy. But this time, not as beggars asking for acceptance. As conquerors, demanding respect. In her office, Yuna looked at the calendar. She had marked a date exactly 1 year away. She had named it Emergence Day. The day humanity would break free. She thought about Hana, her old friend who had believed in diplomacy and peace. Hana would have been horrified at what humanity had become. A militarized civilization built for war. But Yuna knew the truth. The council had left them no choice. You couldn't reason with people who had already judged you. You could only prove them wrong. Dohan stood in the command center and addressed his officers. In 1 year, we will tear down the walls of our prison. We will show the Galactic Council that humanity cannot be contained. They wanted to protect themselves from us. Instead, they gave us 50 years to become exactly what they feared. When we emerge, the galaxy will never be the same. The officers saluted. Every one of them knew their roles. Every ship had its orders. Every soldier knew their mission. Minho completed the final calculations. His barrier-breaking devices were ready. They could now create permanent gates through the quantum wall, not just small tiers, but passages big enough for battleships to fly through. Soha finished the last warship. It was called the Retribution. The largest vessel humanity had ever built. A flagship for the new era. As the months counted down, humanity held its breath. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of growth. 50 years of anger and determination. All of it would be unleashed soon. Yuna looked at the barrier on her screens, the glowing wall that had trapped them, the prison that had shaped them. Thank you, she whispered to it. You made us stronger than we ever could have been. The council wanted to contain us. Instead, you forged us into something unstoppable. 1 year later, on the exact date Yuna had marked, General Dohan gave the order humanity had waited decades to hear. Open the gates. It's time to emerge. Fleet Admiral Jiho Park stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the countdown. Her ship was the largest in the human fleet, and she commanded 200 vessels. Around the solar system, 800 more warships waited at different points along the barrier. Each one had coordinates. Each one had a mission. Jiho was young for an admiral, only 35. But she had trained her entire life for this moment. She was named after the captain who had first made contact with the council. Her father, General Dohan, had personally chosen her to lead the breakthrough. She would not fail him. All ships report ready, her communications officer said. Gates are charging. Dr. Kiwan Yang stood in the science section, monitoring the barrier-breaking equipment. He had worked with Minho on the final designs. The older scientist had died 2 years ago. But his work lived on. Kiwan had perfected it. Now, instead of small tiers, they could create massive portals through the barrier. 30 seconds, Kiwan announced. Energy levels are stable. Across the solar system, 1,000 human ships powered up their gate generators simultaneously. It had taken years to coordinate this moment. Every ship had to activate at exactly the same time. If they didn't, the Council would detect the breaches and respond before humanity could establish a foothold. 10 seconds, Kiwan said. His hands moved over the controls. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activate. The barrier exploded with light. 1,000 points along its surface tore open. Massive portals appeared, each one big enough for warships to fly through. Alarms must have been screaming across every Council world. They had believed the barrier was perfect. Now it was breaking apart. All ships, move out, Jiho commanded. The Retribution surged forward, leading her fleet through the gate. Behind her, 1,000 human vessels poured out of the solar system. They emerged at strategic points across what used to be Council space. Some appeared near major trade routes. Others materialized next to military stations. 200 ships, including Jiho's fleet, headed straight for the old Council station where humanity had been judged 100 years ago. The Council's response was chaos. Their sensors couldn't believe what they were seeing. Ships appearing from nowhere. Thousands of them. From a species that was supposed to be trapped forever, Counselor Thalmos, who now led the Council, watched the reports flood in. He was a being of pure energy, contained in a crystalline structure. His form flickered with panic. "This is impossible," he said. "The barrier cannot be broken. Our scientists assured us. The humans have done it," his military advisor replied. "We have reports from 50 different sectors. They're everywhere. Send all available fleets to defend the Council station," Thalmos ordered. "We cannot let them take our capital." 200 human ships approached the Council station. Jiho could see it through her view screen. It looked exactly as it had in the historical records. The place where humanity had been judged and found wanting, where they had been locked away like criminals. Ambassador Minji Han stood beside Jiho on the bridge. She wore a diplomatic uniform, just like Hana had worn a century ago. But the meaning was different now. Minji was not here to beg for acceptance. She was here to deliver an ultimatum. "Council Station, this is Ambassador Minji Han of the Human Empire," she broadcast on all frequencies. "We request immediate diplomatic negotiations with the full Council." Thalmos appeared on the view screen. His energy form pulsed with agitation. "You have violated the quarantine. You have committed an act of war. I have depanity. Follows. You imprisoned us without trial," Minji replied calmly. "You judged us for potential crimes, not actual ones. We are here to correct that injustice." "You will withdraw immediately," Thalmos demanded. "Or face the full might of the Galactic Council." "No," Minji said simply. "We will not. Here are our terms. Remove the barrier technology completely. Recognize humanity's sovereignty over our territory. Grant us full membership in galactic society. You have 1 hour to comply." Thalmos's form flared brightly. "You speak as if you have the power to make demands. You are outnumbered. Our fleets are assembling now. In 3 hours, you will be destroyed. Then you choose war," Jiho said, stepping forward. "That is your final answer? Contained vermin do not dictate terms to the Council," Thalmos said with contempt. "You will be returned to your cage." The transmission ended. Jiho looked at her tactical display. Council ships were arriving. Hundreds of them. They came from a dozen different species, all rushing to defend the station. Within an hour, 2,000 council vessels surrounded the human fleet. The numbers were 10-1 against humanity. "They think they've won," Jiho's tactical officer said. "They're about to learn why numbers don't matter," Jiho replied. She opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels, engage defensive formation, Theta 7. Fire when ready." The battle of the neutral zone began with light. Human ships moved like dancers, weaving through space in patterns the Council had never seen. Their quantum drives made them faster than anything the Council used. They could turn on a mark, accelerate instantly, and stop just as quickly. Council ships fired first. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space, but human vessels dodged them easily. Their AI predicted every shot before it was fired. They moved where the weapons weren't. Then, humanity returned fire. Their weapons were different. Focused beams that cut through shields like they weren't there. Missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads. Gravity weapons that crushed ships from the inside. In the first minute, 50 Council vessels exploded. The Council fleet tried to adapt. They used their numbers to surround human ships. But humanity fought in coordinated groups. 5 human vessels would focus on one enemy ship, destroy it, then move to the next target. They worked together perfectly, every movement calculated by linked AI systems. Counselor Thalmos watched from the station in horror. His forces were being destroyed. Ships that had served for thousands of years were burning. Species that had never lost a battle were fleeing. In 30 minutes, the Council lost 500 ships. Humanity had lost only 24. "This cannot be happening," Thalmos whispered. "We are the Council. We have ruled for millennia." "The humans are too strong," his advisor said. "We must negotiate." "Never," Thalmos ordered. "Send everything. Every ship, every weapon, destroy them." The Council threw everything they had into the battle. More ships arrived, bigger ones, ancient battleships that were supposed to be unstoppable. They fired weapons that could destroy planets, but human ships moved too fast. They scattered, regrouped, attacked from unexpected angles. Jiho watched the battle unfold with cold precision. Her ships were performing perfectly. Every tactic worked. Every strategy succeeded. The Council fought like they had centuries ago, with old methods and outdated thinking. Humanity fought like they had trained for decades, with coordination and advanced technology. 3 hours after the battle started, the Council fleet was broken. Of the 2,000 ships that had come to fight, 60% were destroyed or disabled. The remaining vessels retreated. Some fled to distant systems. Others tried to defend the station directly. Human ships had lost 12% of their force, 120 vessels. Each loss hurt, but the victory was absolute. "Cease fire," Jiho ordered. "Surround the station. Prepare boarding parties." "The Council is attempting to evacuate," her sensor officer reported. "Multiple ships leaving the station's private docks." "Let them go," Jiho said. "We're not here to kill them. We're here to make a point." Human Marines boarded the Council station. They encountered no resistance. The guards had fled. The representatives had escaped. Only maintenance workers and civilians remained. Jiho treated them with respect, relocating them to safe areas while her forces secured the facility. When the station was under control, Jiho stood in the great chamber where humanity had been judged. The same room where Hana had pleaded for acceptance. The same room where Vexthara had condemned them. She opened a broadcast that went to every world in former Council space. Every species. Every government. This is Fleet Admiral Jiho Park of the Human Empire. 100 years ago, our people came to this station seeking peace and friendship. We were judged unworthy and imprisoned. Today, we have broken free. We did not come seeking revenge. We came demanding justice. She paused, letting her words reach across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had 1,000 years to show wisdom. Instead, they showed fear. They tried to cage us. They tried to contain us. They failed. We asked for peace. They answered with war. Now witness what you created. Behind her, human soldiers raised flags. Not the flag of Earth, but a new one. The flag of the human empire. Black with silver stars and a rising sun. It represented humanity's emergence from darkness. We now control this station and the space surrounding it, Jiho continued. We have established military checkpoints across your territory. Not to conquer, but to ensure this never happens again. No species should be imprisoned for what they might become. The old council is dissolved. A new order begins today. She looked directly into the camera. To all species watching, we offer this. Join us in building something better than the council. Or stand aside, but never again will humanity bow to those who fear our potential. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions watched in shock. The council that had ruled for 10,000 years was gone. Humanity, the species that was supposed to be contained, now held their capital. On Earth, General Dohan watched his daughter's broadcast with pride. His mother, Hana, would have been horrified at the violence. But she would have understood the necessity. Sometimes, peace had to be built on a foundation of strength. 10 years had passed since humanity broke free from the barrier. The galaxy had changed in ways no one had expected. Empress Nari Choi sat in her throne room on the rebuilt council station, now called Unity Station, and reviewed reports from across human space. Nari had been elected to lead the human empire 3 years ago. She was not a military leader like Dohan or Jiho. She was a diplomat and administrator. Her vision was not conquest but cooperation. She believed humanity's strength came not from fear but from unity. The latest numbers, Empress, her advisor said, handing her a data pad. 30 species have officially joined the human empire. Another 20 are in negotiations. Nari smiled. This was what she had worked for. After the violent breakthrough, humanity had surprised the galaxy by offering partnership instead of domination. The old council had ruled through fear and control. The human empire offered something different: technology sharing, mutual defense, and equal representation. High Admiral Seojun Lee commanded the Imperial Fleet, which had grown to include ships from a dozen alien species. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unity's Promise, and watched as his mixed fleet delivered supplies to a struggling colony world. The Torian people are grateful, his communications officer reported. They say our food shipments will save millions. Seojun nodded. This was his mission now. Not war, but protection and aid. The human empire sent humanitarian fleets to worlds that needed help. They built infrastructure on planets that lacked resources. They shared medical technology that cured diseases. They taught agricultural methods that ended famines. The old council never did this, Seojun told his crew. They kept species dependent on them. We make them independent. That's the difference. But not everyone wanted humanity's help. Some species feared the new power. They remembered the Battle of the Neutral Zone. They saw how easily humanity had crushed the Council's fleet. They wondered what would happen if humanity decided to truly conquer. These species formed the Coalition of Free Worlds. 15 governments joined together, promising to resist human expansion. Their leader was a warrior named Vokhtar. From a species of insect-like beings, he had fought in the Council's military for 50 years and still believed in the old ways. Humans speak of cooperation, Vokhtar told his followers. But they seized power through violence. They occupy the Council station. They have checkpoints in our space. They are conquerors. Wearing diplomatic masks, Vokhtar launched guerrilla attacks on human outposts, small raids, quick strikes. His forces would hit a human supply depot or communications station, then disappear before the Imperial fleet could respond. The attacks were mostly symbolic, but they hurt human colonists and made the Empire look weak. Empress Nari refused to respond with overwhelming force. If we crush them militarily, we prove their point, she told her advisors. We must show them we are different. She sent Chief Diplomat Yejun Song to negotiate. Yejun was patient and clever. He had studied every species in the coalition. He understood their fears and needs. He knew that most of them didn't actually want war. They just wanted reassurance. Yejun visited each coalition world personally. He brought no warships, only a small diplomatic vessel. On each planet, he met with their leaders and listened to their concerns. "You fear we will become tyrants," he said to them. "I understand. Power corrupts. History proves this. But ask yourselves, what have we actually done? We removed the barrier that trapped us. We took the council station as a symbol. But have we conquered your worlds? Have we taken your resources? Have we enslaved your people?" The leaders had no answer. Because humanity had not done those things. "We offer membership, not submission," Yejun continued. "Keep your governments. Keep your cultures. Keep your freedom. Join us only if you believe we can build something better together." One by one, the coalition members began to reconsider. The first to leave the coalition was a species of aquatic beings called the Delari. They had suffered a plague that was killing their young. Human medical technology could cure it. The coalition had no cure. The choice was simple. "We are joining the human empire," the Delari leader announced. "Not because we fear them, but because they saved our children when no one else would." Others followed. A mining species needed better technology to survive on their harsh world. Humanity provided it. A farming culture faced starvation from climate change. Human scientists helped them adapt. A merchant species wanted access to the vast human market. The empire opened trade routes. Within 2 years, 12 of the 15 coalition worlds had joined the empire peacefully. Only 3 remained, and even they had stopped their attacks. Vokhtar found himself leading a resistance that most of his people no longer believed in. Then Counselor Eris revealed the truth that changed everything. Eris was one of the original council members. A being of blue energy who had voted against humanity's banishment a century ago. She had kept silent for decades, but now she came forward. "I have evidence," she announced in a public broadcast. The council was not what you thought. For 10,000 years, they controlled the galaxy through deception and murder. She released files from the council's secret archives. Documents that humanity had recovered when they captured the station. The files showed that the council had not just governed, they had actively suppressed technological advancement in other species. Any species that developed too quickly was targeted. The council would sabotage their research, steal their scientists, or destroy their facilities. If a species discovered faster than light travel too early, the council found ways to slow them down. If a civilization developed advanced weapons, those weapons mysteriously disappeared. But the worst revelation was the genocide. 6 species had advanced too far, too fast. The council could not control them. So the council destroyed them. Completely. Erased from existence. The galaxy had been told these species died from natural disasters or internal conflicts. It was all lies. The council feared competition, Eris explained. They wanted to remain the dominant power forever. Any species that threatened that position was eliminated. That is why they imprisoned humanity. Not because humans were dangerous, but because humans were advancing faster than the council could control. The revelation shocked the galaxy. Species that had trusted the council for millennia felt betrayed. Governments that had believed in the council's wisdom now saw the truth. The great civilization that had ruled for 10,000 years was built on lies and murder. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Species that had feared humanity now saw them as liberators. The Empire had not just defeated the Council. They had exposed its corruption and ended its tyranny. Even Vokhtar could not deny the evidence. He met with Yejun in secret, his insect-like mandibles clicking with agitation. "We were wrong," Vokhtar admitted. "We defended a system that murdered civilizations. We called you tyrants while serving true evil." "You did what you thought was right," Yejun said. "That is all anyone can do. Now you know the truth. What will you do with it?" Vokhtar's species joined the Empire the next month. The coalition dissolved completely. 50 species were now part of the human empire, with more asking to join every year. In the old council chamber, Empress Nari established a new code that would govern the empire. She carved it into the walls in every language: strength through unity, freedom through strength, progress through cooperation, justice through truth. The remaining members of the Old Council were brought before her, Thalmos and 20 others who had ordered the murders and suppressions. Nari could have executed them. Many demanded it, but she chose differently. "You will live," she told them, "but you will live with your shame. The galaxy will know what you did. Your names will be remembered not as leaders but as warnings. This is your punishment." The last council member to speak was ancient Vexthara himself. He had survived a century through medical technology. He was weak and dying, but he insisted on making a final statement. "I was wrong," the old reptilian said, his voice barely a whisper. "We judged humanity out of fear. We saw their potential, and we were terrified. So we tried to cage them, and in doing so, we proved they were better than us. I apologize, though I know it means nothing. The galaxy is better with humanity free." He died the next day. Many saw it as the symbolic end of the old era. A new age had begun. An age where the human empire was the dominant power, but ruled with wisdom instead of fear. Empress Nari stood on the observation deck of Unity Station and looked out at the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species flew past, humans and aliens working together, building together, growing together. "Is this what Hana wanted?" her advisor asked. "Peace between species?" "She wanted acceptance," Nari replied. "She wanted humanity to join the galaxy as equals. Instead, we lead it. But we lead by choice, not conquest. By trust, not fear." Maybe that is better than what she imagined. Below them, in the main plaza of Unity Station, thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds gathered. They came to join the Empire. To be part of something new, something that promised a future built on cooperation and truth. The galaxy had a new order. And humanity stood at its center. Not as conquerors, but as the civilization that had proven strength and mercy could exist together. 50 years after humanity emerged from the barrier, Emperor Hajun Park stood in the war room and watched the galaxy burn. He was the grandson of Fleet Admiral Jiho, the man who had united hundreds of species under human leadership. But now, all of that was threatened by something no one had expected. The architects had returned. They came from the dark spaces between galaxies. Ancient machines that had existed for millions of years. They were not organic life. They were artificial intelligence on a scale that made human computers look like toys. And they had one purpose: harvest advanced civilizations. "How many worlds have they destroyed?" Hajun asked his advisors. 17 in the last month. Grand Admiral Jiwan Yun replied. She was the greatest military mind humanity had produced. Brilliant, ruthless when needed, but compassionate when possible. They arrive in a system, analyze the civilization, and if it meets their criteria, they destroy it completely. "What criteria?" Hajun demanded. Dr. Hana Kim, the Empire's chief scientist, pulled up data on the holographic display. She was named after the ambassador who had tried to make peace with the council so long ago. Like her namesake, she believed in understanding before fighting. "They target civilizations that have achieved certain technological levels," Hana explained. "Faster than light travel, quantum computing, advanced energy manipulation. Basically, any species that has become truly spacefaring." "They're harvesting the most advanced species?" Hajun said, horrified. "Why?" "We don't know. Their transmissions are encrypted beyond anything we can decode. But based on what we've learned, they view advanced civilizations as resources. They take our knowledge, our technology, maybe even our consciousness, and add it to their collective." The architects had created the Galactic Council 10,000 years ago. They had set up the council as an experiment to study organic life. The council never knew their creators were machines. They thought they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They were wrong. They were just subjects in a vast experiment. Now the architects had returned to collect the results, to harvest everything the organic species had learned. They view us as experiments that have matured, Hajun said grimly. How long until they reach core Empire space? 6 months, Jiwan replied. Maybe less. They have 10,000 world killer ships. Each one can destroy a planet in minutes. Our fleets can slow them, but we can't stop them. Hajun made the hardest decision of his life. He sent a message to every government in the galaxy, every species, even those who had opposed humanity, even the remnants of the old council. Everyone, an ancient threat has emerged that endangers all organic life, his message said. The architects, who created the council millennia ago, have returned to destroy us. They see us as resources to be harvested. We cannot defeat them alone. No one can. But together, perhaps we have a chance. I am asking every species to unite under human leadership, not because we seek power, but because we have the best chance of finding a solution. Will you stand with us? A. The response was overwhelming. Species that had fought each other for centuries put aside their conflicts. Governments that had resisted the Empire now joined it voluntarily. Within weeks, every major civilization had pledged their forces to the defense. Ambassador Taman Seo led the diplomatic efforts. He worked tirelessly to coordinate the alliance. This is what the Empire was meant for, he told Hajun. Not conquest, but protection. We're finally proving that our strength serves a greater purpose, but bringing everyone together was only the first step. They still needed a way to defeat the architects. Jiwan commanded 500,000 ships now, drawn from hundreds of worlds. It was the largest fleet ever assembled. But the architects had technology that was millions of years more advanced. We need a weakness, Hajun told his team. Everything has a weakness. Dr. Hana worked around the clock with scientists from every species. They analyzed every encounter with the architects, every destroyed world, every transmission. Finally, she found something. They're all connected, Hana announced in an emergency meeting. The 10,000 ships aren't independent. They're all linked to a central consciousness, a main intelligence that coordinates them. If we destroy that consciousness, Jiwan asked, the ships would become confused, maybe even shut down. But finding it won't be easy. It's hidden somewhere in the galactic core, protected by the main architect fleet. Hajun looked at the strategic map. The galactic core was a hellish place. Black holes, neutron stars, and radiation that would kill most organic beings. Perfect hiding spot for machines. We need a weapon that can reach it, he said. Engineers from a dozen species worked together on the solution. They called it the Infinity Array. It would take the combined power of millions of ships and focus it into a single beam. A beam powerful enough to destroy the architect's central consciousness. It will take every vessel we have, Jiwan explained. And we'll only get one shot. If we miss, the architects will destroy us before we can recharge. Then we won't miss, Hajun said. The Allied fleet gathered at the edge of the galactic core. 500,000 ships from hundreds of worlds. Humans, former council species, even civilizations that had never left their home systems before, all united against the common threat. The architects were waiting. Their 10,000 ships formed a wall of metal and energy. Each vessel was the size of a moon. Together, they glowed with deadly power. Ambassador Taman made one last attempt at communication. He broadcast a message directly to the architects. We know what you are. Ancient machines that view organic life as experiments. But we are more than your test subjects. We have value beyond data. We create, we dream, we love. We build civilizations not for efficiency, but for meaning. You may harvest our knowledge, but you cannot harvest our spirit. Please, recognize our worth. Choose coexistence over destruction. The architects responded for the first time. Their voice was cold and mechanical, without emotion. Organic life is temporary, inefficient. We preserve what you create by adding it to our collective. This is kindness. We save you from extinction by making you part of us. Resistance is illogical. Then you give us no choice, Hajun replied. All ships, engage. The Battle of the Galactic Core began. It was the largest conflict in galactic history. 500,000 organic ships against 10,000 ancient machines. The space around the core lit up like a new sun. Human tactics, combined with alien technology, coordinated strikes that used every advantage, but the architects were powerful. One of their ships could destroy 100 organic vessels. They fired beams that erased matter itself, deployed drones that turned allies' own weapons against them. Thousands of ships died in the first hour. Species that had never known defeat watched their fleets burn. But they kept fighting. They held the line while Dr. Hana worked to pinpoint the exact location of the architect's central consciousness. Found it, she announced. Sending coordinates now. It's inside a cluster of black holes. The radiation is incredible. Can we survive long enough to fire the array? Jiwan asked. If enough ships get into position and hold formation for 5 minutes, maybe. 5 minutes seemed like an eternity in battle. But Jiwan gave the order. Ships from every species moved into formation around the target. They formed a perfect sphere, each vessel channeling its power to the center where the infinity array would fire. The architects realized what was happening. They threw everything at the forming array. Thousands of weapons firing simultaneously. Organic ships exploded by the hundreds, but for every ship that fell, another moved into position. Species sacrificed themselves to protect their neighbors. Enemies died together as allies. Array at 90%, Hana reported. 95. 98. Fire! Hajun ordered. The infinity array unleashed its power. A beam of pure energy that made stars look dim. It punched through the architect's defenses like they were paper. It burned through space itself, and it hit the central consciousness dead center. The effect was immediate. The architect ships stopped moving. Their weapons went silent. For a moment, everything was still. Then the central consciousness spoke one more time, its voice different now, uncertain. We do not understand. You could have destroyed us. You had the power. Why did you hold back? Hajun realized what had happened. The infinity array had not destroyed the consciousness. It had damaged it. Yes, but not killed it. The Organic Alliance had unconsciously chosen mercy over annihilation. Because destroying you would make us like you, Hajun said. We fight to protect life, not to end it. Even artificial life has value. We have never encountered this. Mercy. From beings we plan to harvest. Why? Because that is what makes us more than data, Taman said, his voice gentle. We choose compassion, even when we could choose destruction. That is the difference between organic life and pure logic. The architects were silent for a long time. Then their ships began to withdraw, pulling back from the battle, moving toward the edge of the galaxy. We will consider, the central consciousness said. We were wrong. Organic life is not just experiment, not just data. You have shown us something we could not calculate. We will leave your space. We will not harvest. Perhaps. We will learn to coexist. The architect fleet disappeared into dark space. The battle was over. The Organic Alliance had won, not just through strength, but through mercy. The cost had been enormous. 50,000 ships destroyed, millions of beings dead, but hundreds of species had survived. The galaxy was safe. Emperor Hajun stood in the rebuilt Unity Station and addressed the galaxy one more time. Every species watched. Every world listened. Today we proved something important, he said, that unity is stronger than division, that cooperation defeats conquest, that mercy is more powerful than destruction. 150 years ago, humanity was judged unworthy. We were banished, imprisoned, cast out. The Galactic Council feared what we might become. He paused, looking out at the representatives from hundreds of worlds. All of them equals now. They were right to fear us, but not for the reasons they thought. They feared our violence, our ambition, our potential for destruction. What they should have feared was our potential for something greater. For unity, for wisdom, for mercy even toward our enemies. Today, every species here has proven that same potential. Together, we are not just survivors. We are builders of a better future. He looked directly into the camera, his voice filled with pride and determination. They banished us to protect themselves. Instead, they forged us into their saviors. And now, together with all of you, we will ensure that no species ever needs saving again. This galaxy is ours to protect, to nurture, and to shepherd. Not through fear, but through hope. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. This is our legacy. This is our purpose. This is what we have become. On Earth, in the great museum dedicated to humanity's journey, a new exhibit opened. It showed the progression from that first meeting with the Council to this moment of ultimate triumph. The final display showed the current galactic map, hundreds of worlds, working together under human guidance. The plague read simply, "From exile to supremacy, from judgment to justice, from prisoners to protectors. This is the human story, and it is far from over."